Everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Southern U Podcast. My name's Taylor McMurtry. I'm joined, as always, by the man, the myth, and the AL deer legend, Mr. Matt Brock of Habitat First Properties.
You suck, Taylor.
It's a compliment, Matt.
I don't
and
like
then
it.
To my right here, Mr. Jeremy Ferguson of Tut Land and Wildlife Consulting Services.
It's happening.
It's happening, man. Glad to be here.
Just glad to be here.
Yeah, it's about every time Jeremy's just glad to be a part of it, man.
That's
just
it.
Glad to be,
I'm glad y'all allow me to tag along
there
still.
You go. And we are not in our normal setting. We are actually at the headquarters of Tethered, joined by the man, Ernie Power.
Howdy.
Yeah, man.
Another legend.
Another legend in the saddle hunting game, man. We actually met up with Ernie back during the NWTF festival and got a chance to go sit down with him and talk saddles and all that good stuff. So, Ernie, appreciate you sitting down with us. We actually had a pretty eventful morning because we got to tromp around and check out the Power. What are you calling that? Power Mountain?
Power Mountain.
Yeah, Power Mountain Homestead.
Yeah, it's a little deceptive. In the property we bought has a little bit of a hill, and we call it Power Mountain.
Yeah, it's awesome, though. It's a
Beautiful place.
Beautiful place. And so we were actually here about this time last year when you guys had just first started your home build and kind of getting an idea of what we could do to the habitat that you got there, because you've got sizable little piece of ground there, and what we could see what we could do to improve it and feed wildlife, attract wildlife, give them places to bed, and all that good stuff. So Jeremy and I were here, and this time we got to bring the legend with us. Make sure that all of us were here. And
You got some real wildlife consulting this time.
Hey, there it is.
Shots fired.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, your chore list is bigger than Jeremy's was.
Yeah, that's right.
Yep.
But it's been a good day. We got to, Ernie has made some improvements to the property already, done a whole lot of work on the property between the first time we were here and now, and it's just going to get even better. I think we got a plan of action and things that we can put in place to kind of make it even better.
After a year of homework, which always helps.
Absolutely, it does.
Well, and now, give me another year, I'll have you come back.
Yeah, well, you got it's just a really pretty layout to the land too. This part of Tennessee is just beautiful anyways, rolling hills. On the way up here, Jeremy was just like, oh man, it would not take much for me to live here.
No,
this place is awesome.
It wouldn't take much.
So today I was just going to, I guess for topic of discussion, everybody's kind of getting amped up for hunting season. Some places have already opened up, and other states will be opening up shortly. And I'm just going to talk about kind of the early season success, early season strategies, and how important it is to be mobile during that time of the year, and being able to make a move and that sort of stuff. And we felt like there's probably no better place to have that conversation than probably here. And pick Ernie's brain, kind of the brains behind the saddle boom, I would say. It's kind of wild how crazy and how popular things have gotten for you guys.
Yeah, and let's be clear, I don't do it by myself. There's a whole bunch of us here at Tethered. I just happen to be the one here today, right? So there's been a lot that goes into it. But, yeah, being mobile is a big deal. And, if I could execute a shot, I'd have a better story for you. But I got into shooting position last week simply because I could be mobile. Like, I had pictures of this buck coming in. He was coming in right at the end of daylight, but I didn't have anything prepped in the area. So I went in that morning, prepped a tree, got in it, and it ended up being perfect. But the idea is I wouldn't have been able to do that if I was depending on a tree stand or a lock-on that had been set up a month ago, because there was nothing near where this deer was coming in.
Gotcha. Yeah, and that's kind of what we want to talk about too, because in early season, food sources are key. You're trying to find food sources that deer are hitting pretty frequently, and it's both good and bad. For me personally, it's like my favorite time of the year to be in the woods. Part of it is that they haven't been hunted yet, and so you kind of get to get the jump on them, but also they're patternable. It's like you can kind of get an idea, especially with trail cameras and places that allow that. You have an idea of where these deer are and what their routine is and those sort of things. So, Ernie, if you're cool, man, I'm gonna throw about 4 or 5 questions at you and get your kind of take, and we'll throw it around the room a little bit. And
Yeah, if I can't answer your question, I'll make something up.
yeah,
So.
there you go.
That's what we do.
That's what I do. I'm the only guy here that isn't educated. You know what I mean? I have to just make stuff up all the time. These guys,
I still make stuff up.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, let's jump into this first question here. What do you think the biggest key to success is when hunting early season? If you're, warm temperatures, high humidity, lots of food, everything is still green. If you had this, maybe like your most important.
I don't claim to be an expert at this, right? But I think you were right in if you can find that early season food. And something that they're hitting kind of regularly, right? You guys noticed up on my place, we got those pin oaks, chinka pin oaks or whatever. That's where I'd be focusing when Tennessee opens up. Man, I was there in North Dakota. It's all ag right now. You got beans, corn, everything. That's kind of what we've been focusing in on. So there's a little bit of that. But I think, being mobile makes a big deal. Being able to change plans, or even on a single hunt, like you're walking in to get to somewhere and maybe you were thinking you're going to be here, but you end up 50 yards away. Having the ability to pivot at the last second is kind of nice.
Yeah.
Especially with bow in your hand.
Yeah.
50 yards means the
A
world.
lot. A whole heck
means
of a
the
lot.
world.
And I've set up stands before on trees that I thought would be hot, as far as acorn production. And there may be acorns on the ground, but you may sit there a time or two and realize that deer are feeding 50 to 75 yards away, under a different tree.
Yeah.
And you've got, next time you come in there, if you want to kill a deer, you better move.
You got to go to that other tree.
You got to go to the other
You got to go
tree.
to that one.
Right. Well, and that's where, we preach this all the time. A lot of times a guy will have a ladder stand or a lock-on right by that one tree, and he'll sit there and he'll watch those deer at 70 yards all night long. And the next day he goes to the same tree and hopes that it's different.
Nope.
You
I'm
can't do
going
that.
to the deer.
Yeah, you got to
I'm going to the deer.
Yeah, well, I think maybe, at least for me, part of like the hesitancy to make a move like that is because deer are just so spooky in the South. They're so like amped up. You're almost afraid to get aggressive with them. Whereas at other parts of the states, I'm not saying it's easy, but
I will.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying you get away with a little bit more. You know what I
do.
mean? They're not just completely stupid, but I know for me, it's just like, okay, if I'm in their general vicinity and I can get eyeballs consistently on deer, like just wait them out. At some point, they're going to get closer to you, and that's not always the best strategy. You better go. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Look, it depends on who you talk to, but like if you're listening at all to Dan Infault, his whole thing is if you're not bumping deer every now and then, you're not getting close enough.
Yeah.
And he does. I went to one of his in the field seminars, and we went and he showed us where the bed was, and then he showed us the tree that he would get in. And you could see the bed as he's climbing the tree. It's that close. He's like, I can sit here and have eyes on the deer as I'm climbing the tree and keep an eye on it as I'm climbing and get set up because the closest food tree to his bed is right here, and this is where he's coming. He ain't going to go further than this until after dark.
Yep.
And meanwhile, I'm like, oh, man, I don't think I can get away with that. I am way too clumsy.
Yeah, well, I mean, me too. I just, it's just like, do I risk, bumping those deer out? And then I'm bad about replaying scenarios in my head all the time. Like, okay, well, if I hadn't have done that and I hadn't bumped them out, then they probably are still in that area and I'd have a chance to hunt them later. But since I bumped them, now how long is it going to take for them to settle down and come back over? You know
a
what I
lot
mean?
of times it's the same night.
Right.
If you can bump them without them smelling you or anything else, it's just a noise. I mean, they call it a bump and dump for a reason. You bump one and go up a little bit, set up in that tree, and wait. When they come back into that bed later in the afternoon, you're there waiting for them.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, that's true. Anything you want to add, take away from?
No, I think that hits on it.
Another one, though, that I think might be overlooked is water.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Especially early season.
Yeah. With as hot as it's been here lately, if you've got an isolated water source that's got cover around it, I mean, that can be a huge
Oh, absolutely.
deal. Thermals get a little tricky around the water at the end of the day, but that water is a big thing to key in on. If there's no other water around and it's hot, they're not getting that water from their food source at that point. The grass and everything's too dry. They got to come to water.
At our old farm in southern Tennessee, we had a little water hole. It wasn't as big as this table really on top of the mountain, but during the first few weeks, you sat there and you saw every deer that was in that area come to that water hole before it went off the mountain to feed.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
we had
every
talked
one of
about
them.
adding a water hole on my place, which
Yep.
I'm definitely going to do. I'm going to go get a big fiberglass stock tank or something, put it up there.
For sure. Yeah, and I think too, like you were talking about thermals being tricky around water, but I'm not saying this is the best strategy or anything, but I've kind of gotten away from worrying about that as much because it's hot and it's humid and it just is what it is. And you can play the wind, and that's really about all you can do. You know what I mean? If you need to get close to water, you just need to go get close to water and hope that you don't,
Hope it works out
hope
right.
it works out.
Well, and I think it depends on the size of the water too.
Yeah.
Right? A little tank like that isn't going to be a big deal. Your thermals aren't going to do anything. But if you're in a 100-foot wide pond that's sitting there, that starts to make a bigger difference.
For sure. Yeah, late in the evening, that stuff starts to move around a little bit, and you can get smelled that way. But for sure, it's good stuff. I guess moving on here, I know we've touched on this a little bit, but I was going to, I guess, maybe get you to go a little bit more detail as it pertains to saddles and stuff. But how does the mobility of your elevated hunting method factor into your early season strategy? So, like, you've got a lot of different ways of hunting from elevation, and all of them require you to put forth some sort of effort, right? Like, you've got to get to wherever it is that you want to hunt, whether that's public or private, and we'll kind of have more conversations about that later. But, there's the term sweat equity, you know what I mean? But I guess how much of a factor is that for you personally in, like, early season? Are you trying to be, like, I'm taking, nothing but dental floss, in my backpack with me, or do you strip it way down, or is that big a deal for you?
I'm not that guy. I take the same amount of stuff minus extra clothing in September as I take in December. I take the same number of sticks. I take the same knives and pieces and parts and all the stuff, my Mountain Dews, the whole work. I bring the same amount of stuff in September as I do in December. The only difference is if I have an extra layer or two for clothing to put on. I know some guys in the early season will strip down to, just a Predator pack with a couple of little pouches on there, and I'm just not that guy. I like to be prepared for any and all situations, and that usually means I got more than one of most things. And for me, it's not that big a deal to carry it. So, and I like having my little workstation in the tree. My backpack's there with the top folded in. I got my binoculars sitting right there. Carl made this amazing insulated Mountain Dew holder, hangs off my head strap. And so my Mountain Dew's sitting right in front of me. I got my quiver. I made a little hook. My quiver hangs off my hip strap. And by the time I'm all set up there, it's like I got my own little office set up in the tree. Yeah. And I like having those convenience.
I'm the same way. I get in a groove where everything's packed the same way in the backpack. I just grab that backpack and go.
Yeah.
And like you say, I've got multiples of everything. There's probably 3 or 4 releases.
I definitely have 2 releases.
Yes.
Yeah, I got one, my primary, and then I got another one stuffed in the bottom of an inside pocket. So I can't fall out, can't lose it, but if I need it, it's there. But I bring glow sticks for blood trailing, just little bobber style glow sticks, like 3-4 inches long. I use those quite a bit because I can fit 20, 30 of them in a little bundle.
Right.
I got, a knife and a handsaw and, a bunch of other little things in there. But I just like being comfortable.
For sure. Yeah, well, I'm kind of the same way. I have as far as my clothes, I've got like a early season bag that has like really lightweight stuff, maybe some base layer stuff, maybe one outer shell. That's kind of, and it's full because I have more of it than other stuff. And then I have a late season bag that's just outer, like super, like bibs and thick jackets and stuff like that. And but as far as like what I take to the woods with me doesn't really change much. But I have kind of made note just in the last couple of years of using primarily a saddle that, like, it's not that I don't hunt different places I wouldn't otherwise hunt, but when I, use a saddle, I am generally just not as sweaty and not as tired when I get there. You know what I mean? It's like I'm still going to hunt where I want to hunt, but I'm just not quite as gross by the time I get set up.
Well,
you know.
I like my presets, right? So
Sure.
I'll put up presets for these saddles. But I mean, if I were to preset all the trees I really wanted to do up there, I could never afford to do it any other way than saddles. I can buy a 20-foot ladder stick from, Dunham's or whatever for $50, and so I buy 4 or 5 of those in the fall each year. I'm into it for $200, and I just keep putting them out, and they're just there. And I bring my platform with me, so when I get up there, I set my platform and hop in. And I'll put it on both sides of the trail. Like depending on the wind, I'll sit here or I'll sit here, and I got both sides prepped.
Yep. Well, that kind of leads into that question, because this is something whenever I am around friends or other people who have never tried to hunt out of a saddle before, they almost cut me off, but when I'm talking, because like, oh yeah, but I don't hunt public land. I only hunt private land. So this question is for those people. I guess I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, but do mobile / run and gun setups have a place on private land in early season?
I can say absolutely. I'm not Ernie, but I'll tell you, I've used that method on private land very successfully. So
It's just he likes that method on private land he don't have permission on.
you can get in and get out.
You can
really
run
quick.
fast. Huh? Yeah.
Well, look, I got some friends that in the early 2000s, late 90s, they bought saddles specifically to hunt places they weren't supposed to. But no, I think it's got its place. I've got presets, but I don't have to use them. Right? So if I get up and I decide at the last minute I want to be slightly off of my preset, I will. Or if it's something that I just don't know enough about that particular area to put the effort in to put a preset, I can always throw up a hunt and just hunt there one afternoon and take it down. And at that point, who cares? I haven't sweated and carried all that stuff up the mountain and done all the work.
Right. Yeah, well, I mean, something like, even the Skeletors, I've got the 1-sticks. I think I have the first generation or whatever, the first ones you guys put out.
Yeah, they're hollow all the way through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I have those, and every time I show them to somebody, they're just like, I can't believe. And I carry 4, like you're saying, I bring the same stuff every time. I've got 4 sticks, and I use a movable aider if I need to, but most of the time I can stretch out my strides enough with 4 sticks. Like, that's enough to get to wherever I want to get in the canopy and have cover. And it's just like, man, it's awesome. It's lightweight and easy to go.
I would love to be
4
able to
sticks
get
from my
away
little
with-
stride gets me about 10 foot.
I was
gonna
just going to
say,
say,
it ain't gonna get me high enough.
I would love to get away with 4 sticks. I got a buddy, Chad Goth. He says, you got the inseam of a beagle over there. And it's no joke. Like, when I set my sticks, it's I don't even set them as far apart as the steps are between the steps. 'Cause
Right.
sometimes I have a hard time getting my leg up there high enough.
Well,
inseam
look,
of a
we'll say,
beagle.
look, that may be true, but I'll never forget the very first time I had ever hunted out of a saddle is at Doug's place when we went down there. Me and Ernie are in the same tree, and he's like, think about it, we can get in this tree right here. You good with using an aider? I was like, what is an aider? And he has a monstrosity, this 5-step monster aider that he had. Like, that's Carl built, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, it was one of the original ones that Carl made.
It
We
was
actually gave the
huge.
idea over Backwoods Mobile. He makes them now as a production item.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
But it's 5 steps, but they're only 12 inches apart.
Right. but it was just like watching him go up the tree. It was like stick, and then he goes all the way up, and then moves it, and then but when he's up at that hunting height, you're looking at him. I'm like, dude, those sticks are so far apart. How are you going to get to, you know what I mean? But I was like, I've never used an aider before. Why don't we just stick with just sticks? I can't even remember what we did. I think there was like a preset like ladder stick or something there.
Close, yeah.
Yeah, but anyways, yeah, it's
But yeah, I don't use that anymore. I had a couple of times where I about flipped upside down. The aider's just too long.
Yeah.
If I use an aider at all, it's a single step. And even then, I just usually don't.
Yeah, I've got a double step, but like I said, rarely. What happens with me is if I use my aider out, I don't need the last stick. And now I don't, like, all right, I'm just going to strap this to the tree or to my backpack or something because I don't really need it. Or I can just not use the 8er and use all 4 sticks. You know,
See, I carry 6.
God.
I use them all.
Yeah.
I would.
Yeah.
That's awesome. But, yeah, I mean, that was, I guess, kind of the argument for these guys are like, look, if I'm going, 3 miles deep into public land, then sure, maybe it makes sense, but I don't do that. I park my truck and I'll walk 200 yards and I'm in a tree hunting somewhere.
Yeah, so you don't have to be mobile, right? But there's still lots of other advantages to the saddle system. So let's say you've got your presets and that's where you're going to hunt, which is what I do most of the time on my property, but basically nowhere else. I still have the ability to maneuver into shots that I can't get into in a ladder or a hang on. I still have the ability to hide behind the tree. I've got options there that I wouldn't have without the saddle. So while mobility is a big deal, there's some other factors in there that are a nice advantage too.
And see, I've been hunting behind trees and setting, or putting my sets up on the opposite side of the tree where I think deer are going to be traveling my whole life. And people look at me like I'm an idiot because I do that. And I'm like, look, I'm using the tree for cover.
Yeah.
And I stand 99% of the time I'm in the tree anyway. So I'm standing with my left shoulder up against the tree looking behind me.
Yeah.
And
So
then
you're already there.
I'm already doing what a lot of saddle hunters are doing out of lock-ons and have been for a long time. But it does give you that added mobility of being able to swing around the tree because there's shots I can't take that way because I do have a tree in between me and the deer. But I've been using trees for cover for a long time.
Well, I've heard Ernie say it before. People go, man, that's a whole lot of movement to get that offside shot. It's like, well, it is, but I would rather have the chance to take that shot than have no chance at all,
Right. And that's exactly the way I explain it because, I can sit and watch a deer behind me while I'm on a ladder stand and have no chance of being able to maneuver into that shot. Or I can gamble on a little bit more movement in the saddle and maybe get a shot. At least I have a chance.
Right.
Yep.
No doubt. Well, I've especially here in the South, it seems like we never have consistent wind directions for the most part, unless there's like a storm or, a front moving in. The wind just swirls. And like up here, I would imagine in kind of hill country, you get even more of that.
It's awful.
It is. It's bad.
And, it's just nice to go, all right, well, I'm looking at my whatever your favorite app is, and it says we've got a north wind. And then you get to your spot and go, it's definitely not a north wind. You know what I mean? And so it's nice to just
drop you a little milkweed and be like,
yeah,
exactly. Well, that's wrong.
Well, that's what happened for the Velvet opener this year. I planned on going and sitting on that chinkapin oak that you guys found. And I got in there and the wind was all wrong and I couldn't find any acorns on the ground. I'm like, I guess I'm on to plan B. Hiked up to the top of the ridge and the wind was it took me a while to find a tree that was right because the wind wasn't what my apps were telling me.
Yeah, local terrain has a lot to do with that.
Well, it's just nice to have the ability to, like you said, okay, so just move. Just, just go on. It's not that big a deal. When you've got a bulkier, heavier setup, it's not always as easy. So.
And I think that's probably what we're talking about now. The wind is probably one of the biggest things that your average everyday guy, especially bow hunters that are not mobile, when they go in and check the wind, it's wrong. Most of them just go ahead and get in the stand anyway.
Right.
That's the worst thing you can do.
Yep. If my wind's not right, I'm going somewhere else.
If you can't move, you need to leave.
A lot of guys won't do that, though.
No, I'm going home. I'll just go home. If it comes down to me not hunting that afternoon, if the wind's wrong, I'm just going to go to the house. I'm not blowing deer.
But with a saddle, you got the opportunity.
You've got an opportunity to move around and get somewhere different.
I can go over here 100 yards and hunt the same deer with the right wind.
Yeah, which I can understand where some people will go, look, this is my only day to hunt for 2 weeks. Or, you know what I mean? I got to make the most of my time. So that's where I feel like something like a saddle, really makes sense. You're making the most of the time, whatever time you have,
Well, let's face it, if you're using the climber too, you are mobile, but you're loud. You're very, very loud.
Well, you're also I mean, don't get me wrong. There are people out there that will be like, man, you can get in any tree you want to with a saddle. That's fine. You do that. I'm not. I'm going to get in a relatively straight tree because I want an enjoyable hunting experience. You know what I mean? I want to be able to enjoy my time in the woods, but you are limited with a climber. I mean, if there's limbs sticking off this tree, forget it. You know what I mean? It's got to be
that you're doing a lot of cutting.
Yeah.
You know. I was in a tree in North Dakota last week that you couldn't have got a climber into. Hell, just being in the saddle was real tough because it had a big S turn and a hard lean right where I was at. And so it was everything I could do to keep from swinging into the abyss. And if a deer would have let me take a shot, I was going to have to kind of swing into that abyss to take a shot and kind of hold with one foot to get where I needed to get. As it turns out, I didn't have anything come in worth shooting that night, but it was a tricky tree for sure.
Well, even getting lock-ons positioned where they're level and comfortable is not easy.
Yeah.
I mean, we put up dozens of stands, and they're all lock-ons in Kansas. And that's the only thing anybody ever complains about is, man, that thing's not level. I'm like, it's in the right tree.
Yeah. Just deal with it.
Yeah. Quit griping about it being level and kill the deer.
Yeah.
But, with a saddle, you got a lot more opportunity.
Yeah. It can still
be
get
a booger.
tricky.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's why again, there's people out there that'll, hunt out of some crazy looking stuff. And I'm like, man, y'all can have that. You know what I mean? I don't want to, like you were saying, I don't want to go, all right, if my foot slips off of this platform, I'm going around the other side of that tree. I'm out on that. But it does allow for more opportunity for sure.
We found in Kentucky one time on public ground, actually on Ballard WMA years ago, an extension ladder that somebody had screwed 2x4s into and screwed those into a tree and had piece of like OSB for the top and had a lawn chair sitting on top of that, and that's what they hunted out of.
This one just died.
Uh-oh. We lost Matt.
That's par for the course.
Yeah, I'm about to say, how many times have we lost you in a podcast, Matt?
It's unbelievable.
Well, that battery was charged last night.
Oh, no.
I got another battery.
Well, now it's junk.
You want me to put another battery in it?
Nah, I mean.
Now, don't nobody want to hear me or see me.
Well, we can hear you fine.
Yeah.
That's all that matters.
That's right.
Strange.
You don't have a battery in the
It does.
handheld?
It does. It's supposed to.
Here.
I don't know if you charged it.
I'll turn my cell phone on.
Yes, they've both been charged.
Okay, you can turn that on and see if that'll pick it
Well,
back
he
up.
just threw it down.
I'm mad.
Hang on. Let's see. Technical difficulties, guys.
Yep.
Give us a second.
And that's the Endura battery.
Yeah, I know. It's supposed to last a little bit longer. I press the if it's charged. I don't know if it's on or not.
when I run my 360 camera, I run a battery bank.
Camera's too hot. Maybe that's why it shut down.
Overheated. No bueno.
Let's just carry on.
It's all right. We will move on to our next question here.
Now it's on. Yeah, it's on.
All right.
Yeah, we're back going.
Okay.
A little more editing, no big deal.
Don't edit it. Just play it.
Yeah, we don't edit much in here, do we? Mm-mm. So, Ernie, is there anything about hunting early season that you like better than other parts of the season?
Yep.
Which is?
I hate the cold. Seriously, I am not lying. I was up in North Dakota last week. It got down to 60. I turned my heated vest on.
Oh, my word.
Which is wild because, I mean, tethered was in Minnesota, right? I mean, it's,
yeah, like
that's wild.
The amount of clothes that I'll wear late season. Because, look, I've explained this to a ton of different people. There is a huge difference when you come back to camp and a guy says, that wasn't bad. I didn't even get cold. And then the other guy that comes in, and I was toasty warm the whole time. I want to be the toasty warm guy. And so I do. I have heated long johns. I've got a heated vest. I've got hand warmers. Like when I'm up there, I am just a furnace. I like to be sweating almost, like right on the verge of sweating.
I just tough it out.
Yeah, I don't like that anymore. The other thing is I hate hunting mornings. So early season is awesome because I only hunt the afternoons.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. People will say I'll give up 2 mornings to get one evening, in the early season.
Yeah, because I'm never as stressed. When I go to a morning hunt, inevitably I feel like I'm rushed. I'm like, I'm not going to get up in this tree in time. I'm going through the dark. Things are going wrong, whatever. I go in an afternoon hunt. I'll go in at like noon or 2 o'clock way before I have to, and I don't feel stressed because I'm not getting up in the dark and whatever else. And I take my time getting in the tree. It's a nice leisurely sit. I got the afternoon to myself. It's so much better.
Yeah, that's true. Matt, what you think?
I don't know, man. I kind of like my morning hunts.
Kill them in the morning too?
Oh, I know. Probably more than half the bucks I've ever killed have been in the morning. But to answer your question, I enjoy hunting unpressured deer,
Absolutely.
and I enjoy hunting them over food.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, without question, my favorite time to hunt in Alabama is about October the 25th to about November the 10th. Last week of October, first 2 weeks of November.
Mm-hmm.
If I don't kill a deer, it's my fault. I mean, I'm going to see deer. I'm going to see plenty of deer if the weather cooperates. I love it. I see more activity then than during the rut.
Well, I was going to say, for you guys listening, I mean, I feel like this goes without saying. Most of our listeners are from the South, but there's no rut happening here. Everybody else in the Midwest loves Halloween, first week of November, second week of November.
Yeah.
They live for that. Here, there's nothing going on.
Nothing.
You got to wait till Valentine's Day for our rut,
Pretty much.
which is after season.
Yeah.
I'll be down in Atlanta that week. I go down on the 25th. So
Yeah.
Okay.
25th through Halloween. I got some friends down there I try and visit each year, and so I'll be down there during that prime October thing. It's awesome down there that time of year.
I love
And again,
it.
it's not too cold yet, and it's a fun time.
No doubt. Yeah, I love. I think it's probably true of just about anything that has an opening day. I don't care if it's like sports or whatever, but there's just some kind of like anticipation of like, I've been practicing, I've been getting dialed in, I've been looking at trail camera pictures for the last, however many months, and like, I'm just ready to get in a tree.
Built up so much anticipation.
Yes, like I'm just ready to go. And then you have that combined with like, oh, these deer don't know that they're being hunted yet. It's not pressured. You know what I mean? It's my favorite time to be in the woods. I love it. But what do you think?
I love it too. And then you get there and you get the letdown of, there's the 5-year-old 108-inch deer. That's the biggest one on the place.
Or you get picked up and carried off by mosquitoes.
Yeah.
Or,
No-see-ums are terrible
Yes.
early season. Golly, you got to cover every bit of your skin in the South.
oh, I know where we're tromping around today. There's no way I'm not going to be just like destroyed tomorrow. I wake up and just have
Chiggers.
Just chiggers.
Yes.
Yeah, they're up there. I actually, on the velvet hunt, I came back and found half a dozen. I mean, these ticks were so small. The only way I even saw one is it crawled across my screen. I'm like, what is that? And I looked, and we're talking the littlest little tiny seed ticks
Little
ever.
hatchling ticks. I hate
Yep.
them. Oh, and they're usually in the hundreds.
Yep.
If you
Look
have
down
one,
and your
Your
clothes
legs
are moving.
Yes.
Well, and I didn't have that, but, and I never found them on me. I found the one on my phone. But 2 days later, I had the welts,
Yep.
from
Where they
had
bitten you.
bitten into me.
Ugh, gosh, that's the bad thing about early season, man.
Well, it's a bad
Bugs.
thing about the South. The
Oh,
ticks
yeah.
here are just horrible.
It's just part of life.
Yes, no doubt.
And I got myself good and sick here the first year I was here.
Oh yeah, I remember you telling us about that. Yeah.
I got bit by a tick, and 2 weeks to the day, I started running a fever, and it was bad. And then I got chills, and I went in, and they did a blood workup and gave me the antibiotics for tick stuff. But my fever was so bad I was hallucinating, and then I was so cold that I couldn't hold on to anything. I'd drop it out of my hands, and it just went back and forth, shivers to sweat, shiver to sweat. I'd be in water as hot as I could take it for 20 minutes just to feel like I'd warm up, and then I'd be sweating and fever so bad. It was like that for about 4 days before it finally let go, and I was like the dreams, man, I was hallucinating in my sleep. It was crazy.
It's terrible. I hate ticks.
Didn't you say you had Rocky Mountain spotted fever before?
I've had it. I've been treated for it 3 times. Lab positive twice. But,
That's what this was. This is Rocky Mountain
It's
spotted trout.
awful. I ran a fever. The second time I ran a fever for 21 days on antibiotics.
What?
Yeah. On antibiotics, 21-day fever.
God.
And it's no joke. It's not a small fever. It's
No.
nasty.
But
And the hallucinations and crazy stuff that I would dream and see. I mean, it's
real.
wild.
Like
It's
it's real.
wild.
I was there.
Gosh, y'all are not helping me feel any better, guys.
but you hear the difference.
Hey,
It hit Ernie for 4. It hit him
For
for
3 weeks.
21. But there's a difference there.
They just don't make them like they used to.
Well, and I wonder too. Like I knew this was a tick deal the day because it was 2 weeks to the day from when I found the tick, and so I went in and got the antibiotics immediately. And I think if you wait a couple 2-3 days, Greg got it and was sick for over a month.
the first time I had Rocky Mountain spotted fever, I didn't go to the doctor immediately because I thought I was relapsing with mono. I had mono about 6 weeks prior to that and just gotten over it, and I thought, this is just mono again until it got worse. And when I finally did go to the doctor, they said, you better be glad you came when you did because you're sick. You're really bad sick. I lost 30 pounds, and this was when I didn't have 30 pounds, so I don't have 30 pounds to lose now, but I got down to like 128 pounds.
Little fella.
Yeah, it's scary. That's the sickest I've ever been, for sure.
Yep.
No. We were talking about our favorite things of early season.
Yep.
That's not it for sure.
Well, and that was a June deal.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
I got bit in
Yeah.
June just doing work on the property.
Yeah.
Man, no boy.
If you start running a fever and sore throat and stuffy nose in June, July, August, you better go get tested.
Yeah. Go ahead and use you some pour-on ivermectin.
What? Treat that?
No.
I was about to say, what?
No, but it'll kill those ticks when they bite you.
Yep.
Breaking news. That's awesome.
Talking about you fella you crapping through the screen door. I imagine that's probably what that. Well, actually, I can tell you that's what it'll do to you. I've had enough on from worming cattle.
I've taken
it'll make
ivermectin
you
several
sick.
times. It didn't do anything to me. But
Little iron gut over there. Garbage disposal.
Well, yeah.
Well, let's see. One more question we got here. What would be your advice to new hunter for hunters who struggle when hunting early season? Is there anything that you'd say, hey, like this is something you need to be mindful of, something that maybe I didn't know early on and had to learn the hard way, or something like that for when hunting when it's super hot outside and there's plenty of food and that sort of stuff?
Man, like I said, I don't claim to be an expert. I'm still learning. But that's the beauty of it is there are so many smart people out there. You can go check out, THP, Seek One, The Untamed. These guys are good at this stuff, and they've got so much informational stuff out there. Dan Infalt, like these are guys who know what they're talking about. John Eberhardt, like all these guys, they got so much information that's readily available and free that you're going to learn way more from listening to those guys than listening to me.
Well, I guess that would be just if you've had success maybe early on. Like I know for me, this is going to sound really dumb, but for the better part of my adult life, I did not put a major emphasis on identifying different types of oaks. I could identify that they were oaks, but that was kind of where my knowledge and where my stuff stopped. And so there was a lot of times I was hunting a tree that's not really preferred. Hey man, there's acorns everywhere on the ground, all over the place, but that doesn't necessarily mean deer are coming to eat them.
Hunting those loaded mountain oaks.
Yeah, exactly. Doing that kind of stuff and like, man, why am I not seeing deer? Why am I not? Well, that's why. You know what I mean? You're hunting a tree that is about 4th or 5th on the list. You know what I mean? And when you got stuff like chinkapins to hunt, that's just stuff that could make a huge difference. But I guess that'd be mine is know your trees,
I've got a few things, but I guess the most important is I encounter a lot of hunters who can get in position. They can locate deer sign, have deer come in, and then they mess it all up. And they just mess it all up.
I just told you about this 3-4 days ago.
Yeah, and I don't think that they give enough credit to the deer on its willingness to survive. so they move at the wrong time, or they make noise, or their shoulder hits their backpack and it's, loud material or whatever. So pay attention on your movement. Stop moving. Just stop. Just don't do it. And, it's not hard to sit in a tree still unless you have a mental disorder. And some people do, but just be still, you just be still. 2, take the very first shot opportunity with archery equipment that you have on deer within your effective range. Don't sit there and wait and wait and wait and wait and wait. There's no perfect shot.
First good shot.
The first, yes, like I said, the first shot that you feel comfortable with that is within your effective range, take it, because you're hunting with archery equipment, not a rifle. You've got to capitalize on those opportunities. So 1, be still, stop moving, and then take your first opportunity.
For sure.
Yeah, I mean, my thoughts on it are along the same lines, but you got to understand deer, number one, and the resources that they want to use during that time of year,
which are different drastically from
very, very different, especially with bucks still in bachelor groups and your big doe groups still, they're always running together, but those core areas that those groups are using are changing during that period in time that you're just getting in the woods with archery equipment, or at least it is for us. So understanding what's happening during those changes and what those deer are shifting from and going to, I think is as important as anything. There's a lot of guys that, they can look at deer sign, find deer, but, they may key in on the wrong thing for that particular time of year. Like, I know a ton of people don't think anything about water. Early season, when it's warm, if I got a chance to go to water, I'm going to hunt around water.
And in Alabama, our driest 2 months of the year are September, October, and the first part of November. So, you're looking at 2 to 4 inches of rainfall the whole month. If we get that some year, like this year, it's not happening. Or it hadn't. In August, it's been super dry. But yeah, you can key in on what's hot at the time. And early season water is definitely one of those.
And your area here in Tennessee, where we are, it's pretty similar to where I grew up hunting. We would have a tremendous number of bucks on our place early in the year because we had a lot of agriculture. But as soon as those crops were picked, man, those deer were gone. Acorns were starting to hit the ground, and where we would have sometimes on that farm, we might have 30 or 40 bucks identified during the spring and summer when the crops were there. Acorns start dropping, those crops are picked, we might hold on to 1 or 2 of those bucks. So
acorn fall has a big impact on where deer decide to spend the winter. Big impact on it.
Yeah, I heard something on a podcast the other day that kind of got my gears turned a little bit, but we're talking about how there are, we've talked about on here before a lot, where you've got native browse making up the majority of what a deer eats and the majority of protein consumption. Yet when acorns start to hit the ground, that's what they're after. Even though those acorns don't have nearly as high of a protein content, and yet they go and eat them
because they need carbohydrates that time of year.
Right.
Their dietary needs are changing from protein to carbs. They need to pack on the weight for the rut. And
hard times coming.
That's right. That's right. And they know that.
Yep.
They know that.
And I just thought it was, I've never really thought about it like that before, but you got more nutrient-dense browse out here, but they go away from that to go.
Hitting the 3 or 4%.
Yeah.
Protein content, but
Well,
high carb.
Those acorns probably taste better too.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, some of them do.
Some of them are kind of sweet.
Yep.
Some of them are not.
Oh, some of them are awful.
Yeah. Tannins, baby. Ugh.
Yep.
Bitter. That's cool. Ernie, I was just going to give you a chance to just kind of talk about what you guys are doing here at Tethered. I mean, we've talked a lot about early season and being successful there, but not just you, but your whole team has really put a whole lot of effort into making hunters, lighter, faster, stronger, that whole mantra. So you're unveiling some products and got some new stuff that has just been released in an effort to make things, more efficient, I guess, getting there. So I was just going to give you a chance, what's kind of on the horizon, or what have you got coming out or have just released?
Yeah, so, I mean, we're sitting here on the, 9th of September, and on the 3rd, we launched half a dozen new products just over Labor Day. A couple new platforms, some new cushions for your knees, our rad system. All of those are new. And look, it's just the tip of the iceberg. We're constantly working on stuff. We actually have brought on a whole engineering staff here now, so we've got a little more help, which means more products faster.
Yeah.
And so we're doing really good in that respect. We've got some cool springtime stuff planned that'll come out, ATA and a little bit after, and then we got a bunch of more stuff slated for next summer. And so we're starting to get into a groove where we've got almost a quarterly new product.
Gotcha.
So that's going to be really cool. But the new CFX that just came out is awesome. It's lightweight, quiet, warmer on your feet, etc. That's been really cool. I got to hunt with it last week, so that's been a lot of fun. I'm actually probably more excited, though, about the Predator V. I was involved in the Predator from the beginning. Like, that's before Tethered even was around. And to watch it progress from the version that we made on saddlehunter.com 5-6 years ago to where it is today, it's really cool. The newest version, it deserves the hype it's getting.
Yeah. I mean, it's cool that even just that platform there has the ability to add a ring of steps around it. So, if you want to do that and make sure you can get just about any shot angle covered, then that's kind of cool too.
Yep. There's just lots of cool stuff. And there's some new team up collaboration stuff that'll be coming out next month that we've been working real hard on. It just wasn't ready for our launch fest, but it'll be here next month. The grit line has been doing really well. We've partnered up with THP and Seek One and a bunch of guys to come up with custom versions of that. That the cool thing about the grit line is it helps you support your local bow shop.
Yeah, because it is brick and mortar, right? Like, it is a in-store offering.
Yeah, you
right?
can't buy it direct. You have to go and support your local bow shop, which is a nice way to kind of give some money back to the community and to those bow shops. A lot of them are hurting. So if we can force some of that business into their pockets, that's even better.
Yeah, for sure. That's awesome, man. Well, yeah, I mean, we're excited about seeing some of this stuff, and I may have to snag a few things before we leave here. That way we can put that to use. We still got, 5 weeks or so till ours is open, so we still got a little bit. But anyways, we're excited to put some of those products to the test and get a chance to go on opening day. The goal is for the three of us to be able to go and put something down on opening day. That would be like cool, get it all on film.
Something's dying.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Another cool thing, and not to rebound there a little bit, but we have put a ton of work into creating our new headquarters. We've got a retail opportunity here. If you want to come in, try stuff on, and just see some of these products and whatever else, or just meet the people. We've really turned this into a real open and friendly place, and it's its own real cool place now that you can come and visit. Yeah. We've never had that before, so we're really excited to be able to showcase that. And right now we're still under construction, so you'll see some 2x4s and some nails and stuff that we're working on. But we've made a lot of progress in the 2 years we've been in this building, to the point where you wouldn't really guess what its origins are when you get here.
Yeah, I
mean, it's changed a lot just in the last year since we were here.
Yeah, we were here a year ago, and it looks way different now. So, but yeah, we're excited. Jeremy, Matt, you got anything else you want to throw out there or throw at Ernie? He said he'd make something up if he didn't know. I was about going to get it, guys. That's how we do it. We cover, 4, 5, 6 questions, whatever we got for the day, and then wrap it up. So, Ernie, thanks so much for having us here,
thank you.
man, and being able to check out your property and see how much that's progressed too. I mean, it's not just the headquarters here, but your property that you got there. Jeremy and I, we were talking about it. You know, I can't remember. We may have jumped a deer or two or something like that when we were here the first time. But I mean,
I don't remember jumping any.
But we've bumped deer.
We saw
everywhere
wildlife.
we went.
We've
Yes.
seen deer all day.
And
the turkeys.
And turkeys
Yeah.
too. So we're excited about what that property could be. Too.
And pawpaws.
Hey, and
Pawpaws.
pawpaws. Yeah,
Yep,
by the way,
found some pawpaws.
Yeah.
Ate some pawpaw.
And that's not old men, folks. That's
bathed
a
in
fruit.
pawpaw.
Yeah,
yeah, Jeremy and Matt may or may not have had a food fight in the middle of the woods.
Yeah,
with
pawpaw
pawpaws
fight.
today. So it's a good time. But thanks again for having us, Ernie, and we appreciate you taking the time to sit down with us too. And I guess we may do another one on the way home today or something like
I
that.
think so.
We'll see. But
episode from the truck.
Are y'all for
podcast
real?
on the road. Yeah,
That's what he wants to do.
absolutely.
How's that going to work?
What do you mean, how's it going to work?
I'm going to drive very carefully.
Yeah, we're going to do it. But thank you guys so much for listening and supporting us. You can find Tethered's products. Now, you changed the website too, right?
Yeah, so we finally were able to get the tethered.com website. It was not available when we started the company. And so we were able to secure that here this year. And what we did is we just started from the ground up, made a whole new website. You know, we just had a product launch and it didn't crash. So if you know anything about our product launches, that's a miracle in itself.
Yeah, that's right.
So it's a new, hyped up, faster, better, stronger website, new name. It's just tethered.com. You can find us there. So yeah, it's a really cool setup.
Awesome.
Good.
Yeah, check it out. And we're headquarters here. Where are you guys located?
Columbia, Tennessee.
Okay, yeah. So
So come check them out.
check them out. Yeah, in
Very
store.
cool storefront.
Yeah, it's awesome.
See a lot of the products right out in the front lobby when you walk in.
Yeah, it's cool just being able to walk in and actually see a person and talk to somebody face to face and that kind of stuff too. So come check them out. I think that's all we've got for you today, guys. Thank you so much for hanging out with us and supporting us. We'll see you on the next one.
Peace out.
Out.